Welcome to another episode of What's the TVV. I'm your host, Sue Jones. It might surprise you to know that the city of Victorville is 75 square miles in size, and the responsibility for caring for our large city infrastructure falls to our Public Works Department. Here to talk to us about Public Works and all the things this team does is our Public Works Director, Doug Matthews. Doug, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Sue. We're glad to be here to tell you all about Public Works.
Why don't we start by having you tell me a little bit about your role with the city and how you landed in this profession of Public Works?
So I started at a small water district, and that water district was absorbed by the city. Eventually, the water and the Public Works Department became one, and that's how I came to the Public Works Department. I'm the Director of Public Works and Water. I joke that it's two part-time jobs, but it's a very big operation, and so it takes a lot of staff support to get that done.
What is it that you love most about working in local government?
I enjoy engaging with the public. I like solving their problems. I like them seeing that they're heard. There'll be times after hours on a weekend, I'll get an email, and I'll email somebody back or I'll give them a call. If they're having a particular problem. And so they're quite surprised. So just really showing them that we are here to help them.
What are some challenges about working in local government?
First and foremost would probably be funding, keeping funding streams and revenues while not raising rates, not punishing or putting the hurt on the citizens for it. We face many regulatory requirements, unfunded mandates. It causes us not to be able to do some of the projects we would like to that are there to benefit the public.
Yeah, and as those unfunded mandates and rising costs happen, that means that maybe you can't get everything done you want to get done.
Yes, it's one of the examples would be the Western Joshua Tree being, having to deal with it, and it's caused a lot of agencies to have to cut their projects, say, by 25% just to be able to afford mitigation measures to do that. Those are some of the things that, they come without funding to assist you with. Some of the requirements sometimes as well, they don't really apply to our area. So they're regulations or legislation put out there for good intent, but they try and apply those across the board, and they don't always apply to your particular area. It can come from a state water board, it could come from the Army Corps, it could come from Fish and Wildlife. And again, they're trying to do good things. There just needs to be a better look at it sometimes to really see what's reasonable and what makes sense and what the impacts are to the public.
How would you describe Public Works to the community?
Yeah, that's a great question because I don't even think my family understands what Public Works is. So usually the way I'll describe it is consider yourself driving down the street. What you see above ground and what's below ground is what my staff operates and maintains. So when you view across the street, you're going to see the pavement, you're going to see the curb and gutter, you're going to see the sidewalk, you're going to see cross gutters, street lights, you're going to see traffic signals, street signs, landscaping, block walls, everything you see in what's called the public right-of-way, which is just outside of the sidewalk that's there for the public, is what we maintain. So it's a big area. We sweep streets, we abate graffiti, we do fleet maintenance as well. And then you have also what's below ground. So you've got your storm drain infrastructure, you have your sewer infrastructure, and all that is what our staff operates and maintains on a daily basis, as well as during emergency operations. They're really there 24/7, 365.
That's so important, though, not only for just the look and feel of the city, but the actual safety of everyone. Thinking about when you come up to a traffic intersection and everything working properly, the street signs being there and the signals. So your team has such an important role.
It does, and we have maybe about 100 individuals, professionals, I should say, that are certified employees for the most part in a lot of instances, and they have to go through a lot of training, and they have to have a lot of experience to do what they do, and not only the public safety, but to ensure their safety as well while they're out there working in the roadway.
These are the folks we call on when things go wrong too.
Knock on wood, it could be a sewer overflow, it could be a traffic accident where we're out doing traffic control for the police department, or a fire where we're doing traffic control for them as well so that they can do their job. We're called out. There's storm duty that we're called out on. So when we get storms in the desert, they're usually pretty intense, and There is a lot of flooding and street closures, and so we want to keep the public safe. And so, of course, we want to get out there promptly and do our job there as well. So they are out there quite often. They're the people you hate to see because they're going to slow your traffic down, but they're there to help you for sure.
Right. What are some of the more visible projects your team are working on?
When it comes to operations and maintenance, we don't have necessarily projects. It's more routine, day-to-day, behind-the-scene things. But currently, we're preparing for a lot of road rehabilitation projects, so we're helping engineering with those. We have staff out there so we can provide safer, better access for our citizens. We have some landscaping areas that we're working to make more drought tolerant and help us reduce maintenance costs and watering costs. They're out there doing community events like community cleanup days where we had over 700 volunteers at 35 locations. They have free dump days where we provide opportunities for our residents to come out and bring their big bulky items and dump them for free. Those are coordinated. We have shred fests. We do have specific crews out there doing encampment abatements and illegal dump abatements where people don't take advantage of the services we offer and decide to dump in the desert. We do offer so many services out there to be able to drop off things for free that it's kind of sad that that's still happening, but we do go take care of it.
Community members can report things that they see as well, right? If they see an illegal dump site or maybe a signal's out or what have you, how would they report that to you?
So like always, they can call the city, they can report something on the website. One of the most used methods is to email us. We have a general Public Works email they can get at publicworks@victorvilleca.gov. That is monitored very frequently and answered within 24 hours or the next business day if that's what it takes, if it's on a weekend. So people are quite surprised when they find out how quick they get a response, and they get phone numbers where they can actually call back and check on the status of what they've reported.
So what funding sources does Public Works call on to get some of these projects done?
Really depends on the projects we're talking about, and all the funding sources really are restricted in some aspect. The only funds we have in the city not restricted is for general fund. So for instance, if you're working on a roadway, you can use gas tax, you can use what's called a Measure I tax. For the water and sewer type of projects or funding, well, those are restricted. Those are called enterprise funds, and those are collected through rates. With those rates, we do a rate study, and you do what's called a cost of service study, where honestly we can't charge you more than it takes to perform the services we provide. We can keep a small reserve for emergencies, but we have to keep it at that level. We can't charge more than it takes to do the work that we do.
What are some of the budget challenges that you're facing?
Probably the biggest challenge is just inflation and rising costs. Construction costs, labor and materials are really just outpacing our revenues. And while you can increase rates, that's not something we particularly like doing. We obviously do need to still serve water and provide sewer service, but we try and keep the rates low. Two of the more strained areas for the city and many agencies would be streets and, in our case, storm drain. We have to go out to a vote on storm drain to get approval, and that's a very tall order, and that rate hasn't been increased in over 25 years, and there's just not enough revenue coming in. And the same can be said for streets, where one of our primary revenue sources is a gas tax. And even though our gas taxes in this state are very high, we don't get enough of a share to take care of the roads that we have, to maintain them and keep them up to the levels we would like to see them.
How do you prioritize your projects?
A lot of it's data driven. We just look at metrics. We look at paving condition indexes to see which roads are the worst. We have public input. That's important to us, to be able to go out there and see conditions of things. That we have a 75, 80 mile square area that we just can't see everything. We don't have crews just driving around looking for things, so we rely on public input. We have our crews out there that know the conditions of our infrastructure, so they're a valuable resource to be able to decide what should be replaced next or repaired. We also have master plans, we have rate studies, we have budgets to go by that, we use those to figure out when and where we can afford to do projects, and we have the city council strategic plan so we can stay in alignment with what their priorities are. There's a lot of interaction between the executive team, the city council, and staff to figure out what we're going to do next and how we're going to plan it out.
What are some examples of upcoming projects?
One of the projects we have that we're excited about is we currently have a small household hazardous waste center, and we also have a drop-off center for large items. And we have challenges with both of those. They're in separate locations. We have security challenges. So we are looking to build a combined center where it's going to be easier access for the public. They won't be faced with figuring out which one they need to go to and being rejected from one area and being sent to the other on the same day. And sometimes that can lead to illegal dumping activities. When you make something too hard for somebody, we realize that's when we end up with some of those activities going on. So we think that'll provide big benefit to the community.
Do you have a location scouted for where this might be located?
We're hoping to have it centralized in the city, but we don't have a particular property picked out yet. We are right now having a conceptual design done so we can figure out exactly what size we need and then go find the location where it would be best suited to be placed.
One of the projects I wanted to talk with you about is one of the ones that I love that I know that your team did while I've worked here at the city is the 7th Street medians.
So that project stemmed from the state requirement to remove turf from medians and non-functional turf. We took on that project and got a very good landscape architect to help us come up with a theme that fit within the city, knowing that we're on Route 66 and having some steel walls put up that reflected the old-time Route 66 vehicles out there and really putting in some drought-tolerant landscaping, and it really turned out nice. And if you haven't seen it, you should go look at it.
I was so impressed with the work your team did. It's really great to have such a beautiful focal point right at an entryway to the city, right off the 15, right there near Palmdale and 7th Street. And to be able to tie it into Route 66, it's really impressive.
Yeah, we were pleased with how it turned out, really. And also pleased that the city council was willing to put the money into that project. But it is just it's a nice asset for the city to have.
On average, what does a typical street maintenance project cost?
So for public works, street maintenance really consists of what's called a slurry seal. So it's a seal put on top of the road to extend the life of the road, to keep moisture from getting into the road. And we recently did a slurry seal projects, which usually these are in residential neighborhoods, and that's what we're focused on for these types of projects. The most recent one was a project for about $1.4 million. It covered about 9 centerline miles and about 1.7 million square feet. And that cost equates to about $155,000 a mile or 82 cents a square foot.
What all goes into that cost?
Most of that cost is going to be labor, materials, traffic control, and just other construction-related costs. We do pay prevailing wage. It does provide us skilled labor, but it does raise the cost of our project quite a bit. And so it's quite surprising when you hear those numbers. It does sound like a lot, but they are publicly bid. They're given to the lowest bidder, and we're getting the best prices we can.
Doug, how can people in our community stay informed about upcoming projects?
There's quite a few ways that the community can find out what's happening in the city. We have our website. We have a lot of social media posts that our wonderful PIO department helps us with. You can go to a council meeting, a city council meeting, and are there every first and third Tuesday of the month. You get valuable information there. You could download the agenda. And there are some very thorough staff reports that will give you every detail of a project or what's happening in the city. I would encourage you to go on there and either read the agenda or view the council meeting after the fact. We pride ourselves on really being transparent and reaching out to the public and engaging the public to know what's going on, and we do try our best to make that happen.
I would really like to thank you, Doug, for joining us. It's been so helpful to hear about what all goes into Public Works and the many things your team does for our city. And it's just so important to have such a dedicated team taking care of our city. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate you having us here so we can really share with the public what we do and what Public Works actually is.
In the second part of our show, we're going to take a deep dive into what it's like to work in Public Works. And joining us to give us that insight is Assistant Director of Public Works, Juan Robinson. Juan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start by having you tell us about your role with Public Works?
Right now, I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works. So I oversee all of Public Works operations. That includes the street maintenance, which is asphalt, concrete, graffiti, bus shelter maintenance, open spaces. That includes the sanitary division, so sewer, right-of-ways, shouldering, LMADs. We have the fleet department is under me, and then we also have environmental programs, which they take care of all the recycling and legal dump abatements. And then we also have traffic maintenance. So that's traffic signals and signs and markings. So if you think about it, it's everything basically from the sewer line up. So everything above, everything, the asphalt, the concrete, everything that the public sees and drives on and interacts with is public works.
How did you find yourself working in public works?
Full time, I've been with the city 27 years this month. Back when I was a young kid, and I actually started with the city in the fleet department. And I was just basically a part-time person, fell in love with public works, fell in love with working for the city government. And over time, I was able to become full-time in the public works street maintenance side, you know, fixing potholes, patching potholes, road closures, you know, that kind of stuff, storm duty. And then over time, I just worked my way up through the ranks and became a senior maintenance worker, and then started training and become a signal technician, and then became the supervisor for signals and traffic maintenance. And then an opportunity became open for a public works manager. Got that job as a manager over streets. And then today, and now I'm the assistant director of public works.
And your journey really has given you such a insider view to all the different jobs.
There's not one job that I can ask the guys to do that I haven't either been a part of or done myself. So I really know what the crews are going through on a day-to-day basis. So when they tell me their needs, I can really validate those needs by knowing that I've done it firsthand.
What is it that you love most about working in local government?
Every day is a challenge. Every day is a new obstacle that we have to overcome. Mm-hmm. And the team that you work with in Victorville is they're so talented. Public Works has a huge talent pool. It's rewarding to work with such a talented team. On top of working with a great team, I really enjoy supporting the residents of Victorville.
So if the community is out and about and they see something that they think needs to be repaired, like maybe like a pothole, how might that report that to Public Works?
They can either email Public Works. They can call Public Works. We have a phone number, which is 760-241-6365, and report that to our admin staff, and then the admin staff will route that directly to the appropriate department or division.
How quickly do y'all get to make those repairs?
I mean, anytime a call comes in, we respond to it within 24 hours, depending on when the call came in. If a call came in over the weekend, if it gets reported through our dispatch line, then we have our standby crew will respond to it. And if it's a pothole, they'll put temporary fix into that pothole right then and there. So it could be within an hour that a crew is out there.
That's really quick response in my mind. That's good.
It is, but sometimes the public, we're limited to maintenance. A lot of times we get calls for roads that, they want new roads put in. That's more of an engineering feature. So we can fix the cracks, we can fix the potholes and that kind of stuff. But to reconstruct a road, that's going to be an engineering project.
That's a good point to make. So Public Works is more of the maintenance.
Maintenance, right. So engineering builds it, then they turn it over to us, and then we're responsible for maintaining the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Another
big thing that y'all respond to is complaints regarding graffiti. How do people report that?
We have a graffiti hotline. We have a graffiti email, and then they can report it to our Public Works office as well. So when they report it, I want to say we can respond to it within 24 hours. Again, depending on when the call came in. The crews, if it comes in over the weekends, like an email came over the weekends, first thing Monday morning, the crews look at emails and phone messages, and then they schedule those first thing on Monday.
Do you have an idea how much graffiti you all cover up in a month, or do you know?
Oh yeah, so we keep track of all that. So like say on average in a month, our graffiti team will visit approximately 250 locations. There's basically three methods. They could either paint, power wash, or sandblast. So with paint, they're using probably 50 gallons of paint a month. And that's roughly 18,000 square feet of graffiti removed each month. That's not to include, the power washing and the sandblasting. So we just, whatever the team decides is the best economical way to get it cleaned.
And I know they're very devoted. They're out there. You can see them just working all the time.
They are. I mean, like I said, they're very responsive. They're proactive because they're out there every day seeing the graffiti, so they know the hotspots. They know where graffiti is most prevalent, so they visit those on a daily basis. And we do take graffiti off of both public and private property. So private property, they do have to sign a waiver for us, and as long as the graffiti is seen from the roadway, then we will definitely be able to help out with that.
Juan, are most of your reports public generated, or is it your team going out and doing your own assessments?
So I would say both. Our admin team does a great job. So like I said earlier, we get a lot of phone calls and emails and stuff. So they'll take in a month 150 phone calls for service. Out of that, they'll generate probably almost 100 service requests. So our team will respond to those 100 service requests. But we also have teams out there daily just traveling our high maintenance routes, our Bear Valleys, our 7th Streets, our Hesperia roads, those kind of roads, Amargosa, and they already know where the hotspots are, so they're proactively inspecting and repairing those areas.
You all have such a big job and you have such a diverse responsibility. But could you give us a feeling of what a typical day in Public Works is like?
Well, the day will start off at 6:30 in the morning. That's what time the crew starts, and they'll usually they'll do like a safety meeting, a debriefing or a briefing in the morning, and they'll get their assignments. Mostly always the crews are already set, as asphalt crew, concrete crew, sanitation crew, they're already set. So they just get their direction on, locations if they hadn't finished the project from the day before, and they'll get direction from that. So then they go out and they do their scheduled job. But during that scheduled job, we could get a call for a road closure, we could get a car accident, we could get a storm that comes in that we didn't know about, and then they have to be able to pivot, close up, and then react to whatever conditions that come to them. So it's every day could be different.
And I'm sure that's exciting in some ways.
It is, yeah.
But it's also challenging.
It is, because sometimes a project that you plan on taking a day or 2 days, things come in and then it just extends it for 3 days or 4 days. And we have to try to explain that to the public sometimes, because they see us on the street and we're just started crack sealing or potholing or something, and then all of a sudden they see the crew picking up and leaving. Well, it's not because we were finished. It's not because we didn't want to be there. It's because another item comes up that needed our attention at that time, so we had to leave. But rest assured, we'll be right back. It's back as soon as we can to continue our duties.
And some of those things could be public safety driven, like you're responding to like a car accident or something that really requires your help.
Right. We work closely with both fire and police, so when they call us for road closures or any kind of like that, we try to jump on that right away, and it's very challenging sometimes.
So outside of road repairs, what are some of the other maintenance projects y'all take on?
LMAD maintenance, which is landscape maintenance assessment districts, landscaping. We do that kind of maintenance. We do bus shelter maintenance. We do sewer maintenance, so we clean all the sewer lines, and then we also do inspections of the sewer lines. We'll send a camera down there and inspect for roots and just whatever kind of damage that might be down there, so we can make an assessment and get those repaired. Traffic signal maintenance, signs and markings. Signals, we have over 100. We have 100 intersections, so that's a task by itself. We have just stop signs alone, we have over 4,000 stop signs probably, and then a total of regular signs. I mean, we're guessing 20,000 signs throughout the city. Asphalt concrete. There's concrete that we have crews that go out and repair sidewalks from slip, trips, and falls. We upgrade the handicap ramps to the new ADA standards. And then we also have crews that take care of illegal dump abatements. We have a crew that goes out and handles all the illegal dumping pickups.
Glad you shared those details with us, because I think it's like one of those things where you can walk around a community and everything is like really smooth, but the only thing that you notice maybe is that one traffic light that's blinking or something like that.
It's the little things that people pick up on. Mm-hmm. The striping sometimes, or the signs missing, or the graffiti on the signs, or the concrete, lifting or something.
And we really appreciate the community letting us know, because oftentimes they may see it before we do because it's their neighborhood. Like they're going to pass by that intersection multiple times in one day.
It's just tremendous help because, like I say, we have 74 plus square miles of city, over 400 miles of centerline miles of streets that we don't have the staff or the time to be able to visit every inch of the city every day. So if it's happening in your pathway, report it. That way we can respond to it and get it taken care of.
And how about street sweeping? Can you tell us about the schedule?
Right now we have 4 street sweeper operators, soon to be 5. We have another one going to be starting soon. And we have the city broken up into 4 different quadrants. Residential areas are swept right now every 6 to 8 weeks. Commercial areas like Bear Valley Roads, Palmdale Roads, 7th Street are swept weekly. Our goal is to get the residential streets swept every month. It does take a little time because during their normal schedule, like we talked about earlier, the car accidents and storms and stuff like that, they all come in through the day. So the sweeper operators will be tasked to go and clean up after a car accident, or clean up after a truck spills gravel on Bear Valley Road. So it pulls them away from their regular schedule, so it puts them back. So they have those as well to deal with.
Public Works to me is such a really interesting profession because there are such a wide variety of things you can do. And it sounds like it's really good for folks who want to be in a trade.
There's trades, we have welders, we have pipe fitters, we have bricklayers, we have concrete finishers, framers. Everybody's skilled in something, whether it's asphalt, concrete, sewer, it doesn't matter. They have a skill, a trade that they've come from that really helps them out in Public Works.
Sometimes things happen off hours. If someone's encountering an emergency, how could they report that to you or your team, and what would constitute an emergency?
We do have a standby staff that's on call 24/7. They're able to answer calls in the middle of the night. If a resident or somebody calls in a concern they have, road hazards, overflowing, like water's running down the road and they can't see where it's coming from. Car accidents, they're going to call 911, of course, but if the car accident has damaged fire hydrants or bus shelters or signs or something like that, they're always welcome to call our after-hours dispatch, and then they will dispatch us our standby. Our standby is required to respond within 1 hour. These are also could be down power lines that are on a regular road that maybe they're not sure, are they Edison, are they whatever. We'll close the road and then we'll make contact with Edison and the local utility companies to identify if it's theirs or whose responsibility it is. Even during the storms, if they start seeing flooding down the road, they call that 1-800-472-2376. And we'll respond if we aren't already out there. Respond and close the roads, put out flooded signs and sandbags and different things like that.
And I know that we have on our website a really nice big button that says report a problem. And there we have all the after-hour numbers listed as well.
Yeah, so they're more than welcome to use that.
Well, Juan, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us It was wonderful to listen to you and really get such a great encapsulation of what your team does and the wide variety of the services they provide to keep our infrastructure the way it should be, make it safe for our residents. And I just want to say kudos to you and your team for such a great job.
Thank you. I mean, I can accept the kudos, but it's really Public Works and the team that we have that really shine. I wish there's a way for them to be here to highlight their accomplishments, but yeah, they do an amazing job.
Thanks for listening. What's the TVV is produced by the City of Victorville. If you have a topic you would like to see on future episodes, leave a comment or review on your preferred platform.